Okay, a very good morning and welcome to all of you to this very special day. Um, so it's looking very gloomy outside, but I'm sure the proceedings inside will kind of brighten our day up. So this is an event that is taking place to mark the National Mathematics Day, which commemorates the birth date of celebrated mathematician Srinivas Ramanujan. The actual birth date is in December, but because that's vacation time for us to maximize participation, we hold the event a little later. In fact, we started holding events to mark this day since last year. So last year we had talks dedicated to the work of to Ramanujan himself, his life and work related to Ramanujan. So basically the talks were on number theory. This year is very special because the event we have today is dedicated to the life and work of Professor C.R. Rao, whom we unfortunately lost recently. So we will have 4 talks by distinguished colleagues dedicated to the, describing different facets of the life and work of Professor Rao. So Professor Rao, of course, had a research career spanning 80 years. He's had an amazingly dynamic personality and extremely motivating figure in the history of statistics. In the career spanning 80 years, the start itself, he made breakthroughs by developing the Kramer-Rao inequality and the Rao blackvellization technique. He has pioneering work that spanned various areas in information theory, statistical physics, statistical genetics, econometrics, differential geometry. Plus, within the realm of statistics itself, Professor Rao made substantial contributions to nearly every facet of the subject, which includes statistical inference, experimental design, multivariate analysis, higher order asymptotics, characterization of probability distributions, linear and generalized linear models, stochastic modeling, matrix algebra, and what have you. So in recognition of his work, Professor Rao was bestowed with several honors, which include the highest awards in our own country as well as that in the United States. So our government bestowed him with the Padma Bhushan, the Padma Vibhushan, the India Science Award, and in the United States he received the National Medal of Science. And of course, needless to say, he has several hundreds of publications, several PhD students, and he was regarded as an exceptional teacher. And it's a delight to have 4 distinguished colleagues today to give the talks for this event, 2 of whom are actually students of Professor C.R. Rao, our own colleague Professor Debashish Kundu and Professor Nandini Kannan. We also have our distinguished colleague Professor Partha Majumder, and our again own colleague from Computer Science Department, Professor Satyadev Nandakumar. So I extend a warm welcome to all of you. Especially I express my deep appreciation to the speakers for agreeing to give talks today and shed light on this very, very distinguished personality's career and work. So I extend my thanks, deep thanks to all the students. So this is the special thing about this event today, that it's been primarily organized by our research scholars. It's a complete initiative of theirs. But of course, spearheaded by our student seminar committee, led by the team led by Professor Sudhanshu Shekhar, also has Indranil, Minerva, Vidyut, and Ashutosh. So my thanks to all of you for making this event come about. And I also thank the department staff for helping in every way. So without much ado, let me hand over to the chair of the first session, Professor Neeraj Mishra, to welcome Professor Majumder and begin his talk. Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Mahua. Very good morning to all of you. So welcome you all to this first session of this one-day conference, which is a part of a National Mathematics Day, as Mahua told, that actually falls on 22nd December. So we are slightly delayed as far as celebrating that National Mathematics Day is concerned, which we all know is to commemorate birth anniversary of the greatest Indian mathematician, Srinivas Ramanujan. So in this first talk, we have invited speaker, Professor Partha Majumder. He's a National Science Chair with ISI Kolkata. Today he'll be speaking on the life and work of, a tribute to multifaceted genius with special reference to his impact on genetics. Yeah, Professor Majumder. So I would request you to restrict your talk to somewhere around 50 to 55 minutes.
It's really a delight to be called upon to give this talk, and I'm very, very pleased and honored to be back in IIT Kanpur again. Yeah, thanks. I will talk about various aspects of the life of Professor C.R. Rao, scientific life, of course. As I was preparing for this talk, I talked to Professor Debashish Sengupta whether I should get too technical or not, and he said there'll be students and faculty members from other departments, so maybe I should not, make it too technical. So it's going to be a general talk. It's going to give you an overview of the thoughts and contributions of Professor C.R. Rao. I will start with a very personal sort of experience. I joined the Indian Statistical Institute on the 3rd of August, 1970, as a student of the BStat course. And our classes used to be held on the 3rd floor of what's called the main building of ISI. And that particular room is a coveted room called 3.0. All of us who have been to ISI know that particular room. So our classes were held in 3.0. We were in the BStat first year. What was an enigma for us to see is that our classes used to be for 50 minutes and then we had a 5-minute break or so. So at the end of our first period, we would see a train of faculty members going towards one end of that corridor. It was a long corridor on the 3rd floor, going towards one end of the corridor. And at the end, there would be not a very heavyweight person, a slim, not so tall person walking, sometimes with Hawaii chappals and so on and so forth towards that door. So we were very curious as to what this train is all about, train of faculty members is all about, and why does this person go at the end? We soon found out that that's the tea room of the faculty members, and faculty members would throng there at 11 o'clock, which used to be the tea time. And people who went there first, they always had some problems that they were unable to solve. And this man who was trailing at the end was the person who would solve their problem. So anybody who had a problem would get there first so that they could ask Dr. Rao how to solve that problem. And we later heard that many of the problems that went into writing of papers, deep papers in statistics or PhD thesis, many of the problems or sub-problems were actually solved in that tea room. The tea room the tea break would be, or the tea time would be from 11 o'clock to about 12, but sometimes less. So that's the time when faculty members really interacted on a daily basis with C.R. Rao, as long as he was here. But C.R. Rao, of course, as I will mention, left the Calcutta campus, the main campus of ISI, and went away to Delhi and executed his operations from Delhi as a Jawaharlal Nehru chair and so on and so forth. But all of that will come. So at that impressionistic age, this man, we of course learned later of C.R. Rao, and we were taught from his books and so on and so forth. But at that impressionistic age, C.R. Rao made a deep mark on all of us. So it's really a pleasure for me to share, to later learn what he has done and to share with you, all the things that he had done. One more personal remark. After I finished my PhD, I went and joined as a visiting faculty member at the University of Pittsburgh. At that time, I was in the Department of Biostatistics. Dr. Rao was in the Department of Statistics. Debashish, Nandini, all of them were in the Department of Statistics doing their PhD. I remember that at that time, of course, we had taken many short courses from C.R. Rao in ISI, but at that time, meta-analysis was coming up. And Dr. Rao gave a course on meta-analysis. I think it was like 10 lectures, and we went and attended, and awesome. He was an awesome teacher, wouldn't speak too much, but very, very clear in his mind. So it's really been a great pleasure for me to have known him quite closely. And so what I'm going to do is essentially trace his career, his contributions to statistics without becoming too technical. His contributions to statistics spanned other sciences as well, because statistics, as the founder of the Indian Statistical Institute said, is basically an applied science, and he really applied statistics, and through these applications, through the problems that cropped up in these applications, he actually built a lot of solid theory of statistics, and I will mention some of those. Doesn't seem to work. So that's Dr. Rao. We've seen in the first, in the poster. So Dr. Rao's name is associated with so many of these. I mean, these are all known by names, and every statistician would know these various kinds of things: Cramér-Rao bound, score test, Rao-Blackwell theorem, Mohu just mentioned about Rao-Blackwellization, Fisher-Rao metric, and so on and so forth. For a person in his lifetime to have so many techniques or theorems associated with one's name is really something that one doesn't see on a daily basis, not for many. And interestingly enough, some of these, so for example, this one was, okay, I was going the wrong way. This one, the Cramér-Rao bound was named by somebody who is kind of one of the founding fathers of statistical inference, Jerzy Neyman. He named this as the Cramér-Rao inequality, and this actually arose when he was lecturing to a class in Calcutta University. V.M. Dandekar, whose name many of you may actually know, an economist, an economic statistician, was a student in that class, and Dandekar asked, how low can the variance of an unbiased estimate be given a particular sample size? For a particular sample size, you have an unbiased estimate of a parameter. How low can the variance be? Dr. Rao did not have the question, did not have the answer in the class, but he worked through the night and came up with a solution that's today known as the Cramér-Rao bound. So he actually came up with the lower bound of the variance of an unbiased estimate of a parameter for a fixed sample size. So it's, of course, the bound is dependent on the sample size. I'm not going to get into the technical details of these various tests, so all that I'm trying to impress upon you is that his name is associated with so many statistical techniques and theorems that it's quite obvious that he is somebody who is really a multifaceted genius. This is the book that all of us grew up with, Linear Statistical Inference and Its Applications. Something that was pointed out to us in our class by another famous statistician whose name was Jayanta Kumar Ghosh. He is no longer with us. He mentioned something that was that sort of didn't strike us, but having said that, it was very clear that Dr. Rao was himself very clear in his mind. He said that Dr. Rao could have named this book as Statistical Inference and Its Applications, but he didn't do that. He used the word linear. Linear statistical inference, this book does not have anything to do with nonlinearity. No nonlinear inferences were talked about in this. So Dr. Rao was very, very careful in choosing words for, his papers are a treat to read. Very crisp, very clear. So every choice of every word was, he spent a lot of time thinking about these various kinds of things. This book has been translated to 6 major languages. In his lifetime, he's written 14 books. The last book he passed away last year. At the age of 102, he wrote a book, Statistical Learning Using Neural Networks. This is in 2020, and that's the age of 99. That's when he's still writing. He's still creative, he's still writing books. He's written about 500 research papers, and the last paper was actually published in 2020 when he was 99 years of age. Of course, for his seminal contributions, he's gotten a large number of medals and prizes, and this is not exhaustive. Some of them have been mentioned by Mahua, but he's gotten the Guy Medal in Gold from the Royal Statistical Society, the highest award in any scientific field by the Government of India, the India Science Award, etc. I will mention something. He got the US National Medal of Science in 2002, and George Bush presented him with that Medal of Science, and he said he named Dr. Rao as the prophet of a new age. And the citation read, the National Medal of Science was being awarded to him for his pioneering contributions to the foundations of statistical theory and multivariate statistical methodology and their applications, enriching physical, biological, mathematical, economic, and engineering sciences. And as a matter of fact, to all of these areas, Dr. Rao had contributed deeply. He found problems. Through those problems, he had also identified new statistical methods or contributed new statistical methods to the body of statistical science. So it's really, his contributions I'm not going to read the entire list. I suppose you have read it. These are just some pictures that I want to share with you. The first one is from when he got from our President K.R. Narayanan, the Padma Vibhushan. The second is 2011, he got the Guy Medal. 2010, he got the India Science Prize from Dr. Manmohan Singh, who was the Prime Minister at that time. 2002, I just mentioned that he got the US National Medal of Science from President George Bush. Dr. Rao himself said that I was fortunate to have made some fundamental contributions to the field of statistics and to see the impact of my work in furthering research. In my lifetime, I've seen statistics grow into a strong independent field of study based on mathematical and more recently computational tools. Its importance has spread across numerous areas such as business, economics, health and medicine, banking, management, physical and natural and social sciences. So this is Dr. Rao. Indeed, his contributions have actually impacted on many sciences. He was born on September 10th, 1920, of course. His father, C.D. Naidu, who worked in the police department, said, my father used to say that I was his pride, his hope, and his joy. So that's what Dr. Rao's father used to think. Dr. Rao dedicated the book Statistics and Truth. He actually wrote a book or collected essays, Statistics and Truth, to his mother. He dedicated that to his mother and said, why did he dedicate that to his mother? For instilling in me the quest for knowledge, and who in my younger days woke me up every day at 4 in the morning and lit the oil lamp for me to study the quiet hours of the morning when the mind is still fresh. So that's what his mother did, and he is very, acknowledging that. He graduated in BA Honours from Andhra University. Pressure from his family forced him to prepare for taking an entrance test in the Indian Civil Service. He was waiting to take that test, but then he decided to apply for a job in the army. He got a call for that particular job. He came up to Calcutta for an interview. Unfortunately, he was not selected, and Dr. Rao thinks that he was not selected perhaps because he was too young. He was only 20 years of age. That was in some ways a blessing in disguise for Dr. Rao. It changes the entire career. During that trip, he met, there was a chance meeting with a man who was receiving training in ISI, and he was also a South Indian, and Dr. Rao was staying in the South Indian Hotel in Calcutta. That's where they met, and they had some conversation, and this man who was visiting or taking training in ISI said that let's go to Presidency College. That's where ISI is right now, been organized. So Dr. Rao eventually looked at ISI, which was then located in Presidency College, and secured an admission to a one-year degree program. And he said that I didn't learn much from the course. Statistics as a subject was just beginning. Said I didn't learn much from the courses, but there he met three stalwarts, R.C. Bose, S.N. Roy, and K.R. Nair, three stalwart statisticians. He attended two talks by Malanobis on scrutiny of data and was very impressed. Within a year of joining, he, of course, became friends with these three people, R.C. Bose, S.N. Roy, and K.R. Nair, and within 3 months of his joining the ISI, he actually wrote a paper with K.R. Nair. July 1941, Calcutta University starts the master's program in statistics. The first master's program in statistics in the country. Dr. Rao enrolled, he graduated in 1943 with the first rank and holds probably what's still the record marks in master's examination in Calcutta University, 87.5%. And he publishes many papers from his master's dissertation. To give you a glimpse of what he did in his master's, in his final MA examination, they were supposed to write a thesis, or they could write a thesis in lieu of taking, the classroom examinations, 2 practical papers. So he chose these 2 problems and he solved these 2 problems for his thesis and wrote a thesis, MA thesis in lieu of these 2 practical papers. The first problem was posed by Ragnar Frisch. And the problem said that if x, y, and z are 3 independent random variables, under what conditions is the regression of ax plus y on bx plus z linear? I'm not going to go into the history of how this arose in Ragnar Frisch's mind, but he could not solve the problem. Dr. Rao, read this and solved the problem, and the paper was published in the Econometrica. The second problem that he dealt with in his MA dissertation was to find a test of hypothesis that the mean values of p correlated variables are the same in k populations. For k equal to 2, Hoteling's t square or Mahalanobis d squared, we know that that's used as a test. But Dr. Rao extended it from k equal to 2 to more k equal to k, and that's called the Rao's perimeter test. This is MA dissertation. Amazing that these are the people. He could actually identify these statistical problems and solve them when they don't, even today, they don't seem very simple. 1943, he joins ISI as a technical apprentice. 1946, Mahalanobis sends him to Cambridge. And Dr. Rao said that the period 1944 to 1946, before going to Cambridge, was perhaps the most eventful of my research career. During this time, he proved the Kremer-Rao bound and the Rao-Blackwell theorem. Amazing that he had just passed his MSc or his MA examination. Mahalanobis was going to send him to Cambridge to work with R.A. Fisher, but in the interim, couple of years or so, he proved the Kremer-Rao bound and Rao-Blackwell theorem. And I told you that the Kremer-Rao bound was actually a question that was asked by Dundaker in the classroom. So in an interview that Dr. Rao gave in 2013, this was published in the December issue of Resonance, which is the popular school journal for school education, published by the Indian Academy of Sciences. Dr. Rao said that India has a very low rank in the publication of papers in high-impact journals, even below that of some of the third world countries. There is an urgent need for encouraging students and faculty to pursue quality research and reward them in a suitable way. This is a challenge and does not seem to be possible in a system where promotions are made by seniority and not by merit. Indians doing good research have to go abroad to get recognition for their research and win international awards. I think he was also speaking his mind out because he actually had suffered in some ways early on in his career, so it was kind of talking his mind out. Dr. Rao returned to India from England. He went to England to Cambridge and returned to India from England in 1948 and became a professor in ISI at the age of 28. Amazing. A professor of ISI at the age of 28. I'm now going to shift, as you may have already noted, that I'm not being chronological and that's not my intent. I'm not describing his life in a chronological way. I'm actually going to shift gears a little bit and talk to you about some seminal work that he did early on, was undertaken by P.C. Mahalanobis but handed over to Dr. Rao, and some seminal work that he undertook from where he made a lot of contributions to statistical methodology using these practical kinds of things. So he was looking at body dimensions, physical anthropology was projects were being talked about. This is Prashant Chandra Mahalanobis, the founder of the Indian Statistical Institute. Prashant Chandra Mahalanobis learned of some of the things that Herbert Risley has done. Herbert Risley was a British administrator who was also interested in physical anthropology, and at the turn of the 20th century had done massive nationwide survey of body dimensions, looked at multiple characteristics of the body, and for those of you who are interested in the history of statistics or history of Indian statistics will know that the first volume of Sankhya, which is the Indian Journal of Statistics, even published today, the first volume had a lot of many pages of just numbers, and these numbers were generated by Herbert Risley, looking at body dimensions of a variety of people from all over India. Mahalanobis actually analyzed those data and came to certain conclusions, but I'm not going to describe those conclusions because that's Mahalanobis, and we are talking about C.R. Rao today. Will you please let me know about 5 minutes before I need to stop? So this is the survey that was undertaken, anthropological survey of the United Provinces. UP and adjoining areas used to be called as United Provinces. This is 1941. The study was completed and the paper was published in 1949 in the Indian Journal of Statistics, which is Shankha. This paper was published by Mahalanobis, D.N. Majumder, who was an anthropologist, and C.R. Rao. The kind of questions that they asked is that if a member of a caste population, India, as you know, comprises many caste populations, many tribal populations, and so on. Each of these populations, they primarily marry within themselves, and therefore their genetics or body dimensions usually are very highly correlated within the population. So if members of a caste population and members of a tribal population live in close geographical proximity, are they more similar to each other than members of the same caste who live in disparate geographical regions? So essentially what he was trying to understand, or what they were trying to understand, is the role played by geographical proximity in shaping your body dimensions. Now this might seem odd. There are two reasons why this can happen. One is geographical regions that are in close proximity will enjoy similar climate, and climate has a lot of effect in these body dimensions. And secondly, people who are in close proximity, they also have a chance of marrying each other, even though it transcends or cuts across their caste or tribal boundaries. And as one may know that, as you may know that, genetic factors, genetic characteristics, when marriages take place, the children become similar to their parents. And so those are the kinds of questions that they asked. Is there also a close resemblance between social status of a caste group and its resemblance to the Brahmins, who occupied the top rung of the social hierarchy? Can we infer origins of a population from anthropometric measurements, and do such inferences agree with historical knowledge? Those were the kinds of questions that they were asking, and they conducted this particular survey, which is the anthropometric survey of the United Provinces, and they came up with some conclusions, and one of the conclusions was that there is a close correspondence between social status and resemblance to the Brahmins. I'm not going to get into the interpretations of these. There are scientific interpretations as to what these, or how these conclusions came about. There are a number of cases in which physical evidence definitely indicates possible origins contrary to accepted opinion. So they found both consistency as well as contradictions to accepted opinion. They moved on to replicate some of these kinds of things in Bengal. That was undivided Bengal. This was published in 1945. This was, by the way, this was published in 1958. The study was undertaken in 1945. The previous study was undertaken in 1941. This was, Mahalanobis had become very busy with other affairs of the government, with other affairs of our nation. He retracted himself. He is not an author on this paper, as you can see. D.N. Majumder, the anthropologist, and C.R. Rao, they were the authors. One of the important contributions of this particular study is the demonstration of regional differences within a social group, that is, between individuals adopting the same caste, tribal, or religious group, but living in different districts. This shows that a term like Brahmins of Bengal has to be used with some caution. So if they are living in disparate geographical areas, they become quite dissimilar and become more similar to people who belong to another social group but living in the same geographical area. Another interesting feature, and I'm quoting from the report of the Bengal Anthropometric Survey, another interesting feature is that sometimes there is closer resemblance between caste groups within a district than between individuals of the same caste group belong to different districts, which essentially means that geographical proximity plays a lot of role in shaping body dimensions. But unfortunately, their conclusions were not foolproof. They were not internally very consistent. And Mahalanobis, wrote a preface, or was it a concluding remarks? I can't remember. So he said that anthropometry alone cannot tell the tale. What is the tale? The proximity, the relationships among social groups, etc. We have to supplement by other genetic and serological data. And he also said our experience with anthropometry has not been convincing, and we have to look at blood group variations also. So eventually they undertook ABO blood group studies among various populations of India. They came up with interesting ways of depicting ABO blood groups, which contains, which deals with 3 correlated variables, non-independent correlated variables, the A, B, and O blood group. Their frequencies are correlated. And even there they were not satisfied. They said we need to take into account more blood groups, and this was the anthropologist Majumder who actually wrote this. So he said that one blood group system won't do. We have to take a look at multidimensional blood groups, and so they moved on to doing similar things, but couldn't get much farther. Soon after completing the report of the UP anthropometric survey, Mahalanobis got a telegram from the Anthropological Museum of Cambridge saying that a British expedition from Africa had brought a large number of bones and stones. Would it be possible for Mahalanobis to send one of his students to analyze the data? Mahalanobis replied to the British Museum saying that, of course, I have one who is very good in statistics, but he doesn't know anthropology, so I'll send an anthropologist along with Rao to help you with this project. The anthropologist was Ramakrishna Mukherjee, who was at that time head of the Department of Sociology at the Indian Statistical Institute with a background in anthropology. So Ramakrishna Mukherjee and C.R. Rao went to Cambridge. This is the book that eventually came out from the analysis of the data, Ancient Inhabitants of Jebel Moya, by Ramakrishna Mukherjee, C.R. Rao, and J.C. Trevor. J.C. Trevor was from the British Museum. I probably will skip all of this for, unfortunately, they were able to reach some interesting conclusions, but with some of the questions that they asked, they were not able to get to foolproof conclusions. However, very interesting applications and later generalizations of the discriminant function and also uses of Mahalanobis d squared was used in this particular study. This is a very famous human biologist and anthropologist, human biologist, Jim Sperler, who later wrote in the American Journal of Physical Anthropology. The book is noteworthy as the first large attempt to apply modern methods of multivariate analysis to problems of classification of human populations using skeletal material. In this sense, it's a permanent landmark in the development of anthropological methodology. So here you see a statistician in collaboration with some anthropologists are actually making a permanent landmark in the development of anthropological methodology using various kinds of statistical methods. Dr. Rao says that I also registered for a PhD under R.A. Fisher, but Fisher said I must work on his mice, whether it leads to a thesis or not. So I was doing some experiments on mice for R.A. Fisher, which involved the mapping of chromosomes, in addition to my work at the Anthropological Museum for the Jebel Moya bones. So he was simultaneously doing two things because Fisher insisted that some chromosome mapping work be done by C.R. Rao. Fisher had a laboratory where he was breeding mice because he was mapping genes on the chromosomes of mice. Lots of mice, maybe thousands. This is quoting from Dr. Rao. Lots of mice, maybe thousands. I think we were some 10 people working there at that time. Fisher asked me to study the linkage of 4 genes on the chromosome and to find distances between them. These genes are placed on chromosomes, and C.R. Rao's task was to find the distances between the chromosomes. And again, I'm not going to get into the details. You can't actually measure using a tape or a measuring scale. You have to use statistical methods by crossing these mice, etc., in order to order the various genes and to find the relative distances among these genes. And those were a new set of statistical methods that actually Dr. Rao invented. So I was doing that project for R.A. Fisher in the evenings, and in the daytime I was working in the Anthropological Museum. This is the paper that Dr. Rao wrote, Methods of Scoring Linkage Data Given the Simultaneous Segregation of 3 Factors. So he was looking at 4 loci and was crossing mice and so on and so forth, deriving a lot of data, or generating a lot of data and analyzing the data to understand the ordering of these 4 loci, 4 genetic markers, 4 genes, and to find the relative distances among these genes. My PhD dissertation was based on theoretical work, which I did in connection with the project, which is partly Jebel Moya book. So he invented some statistical methods which went into that book. But in addition, I had some additional results in my thesis. Fisher's discriminant function was used for classification within 2 categories, and he developed a multi-category classification. Also, at that time, computing was not so easy. They were dealing with a large number of characters, let's say 50 characters measured on each of these bones, etc. But it was not possible for him to analyze that data. You couldn't invert a matrix maybe beyond 6 by 6 by hand at that time. So he needed to figure out whether he would have to deal with all of the data, or whether he could select a subset of those characteristics that were measured on each bone. So he developed some methods of identifying, given that I have included I have a set of P characteristics, I've included P1 characteristics in my study. Do I need to, do the remaining P minus P1 variables add anything more in order to add any additional information? And he needed to identify how to test whether there is additional information, etc. And he did all of that. He invented methods for these tests of additional information. In 1953-54, C.R. Rao visited the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, and he learns to use a digital computer, and he learns programming. This is, of course, I think, Fortran programming at that time. So this is a lament from Dr. Rao, which I would actually like to read out because it's instructive. The ISI had acquired a digital computer, but the workers' union at the ISI was against the use of computers. They prevented me from using the computer. It was difficult to convince them, and I think we lost the opportunity to develop computer-intensive statistical techniques in India well before others did. The clock was set back by 20 years, and this is the workers' union. This was a big disappointment for me. I sent a letter to Professor Mahalanobis resigning from the ISI and stopped going to office. The professor and other administrators of the ISI persuaded me to withdraw my resignation to avoid a slur on the workers and maintain the reputation of the institute. I agreed to continue to work in the best interest of the institute. So this is a lament from Dr. Rao, and it's very instructive. Dr. Rao worked on these, continuous random variables, etc. At some point late in his life. He also started, after he moved to the University of Pittsburgh, as a matter of fact, most of this work was done when he was at the University of Pittsburgh. He started dealing with genetic data, categorical data, proportions of these various kinds of variables, and similar to the ANOVA, he came up with a measure of diversity and came up with method of analyzing diversity called ANODIV, which is very similar to analysis of two-way data. But it's not straightforward. It's not an immediate extrapolation from continuous random variables to categorical random variables. But this particular method is now widely used, and I, in my own work, use this on a daily basis, and it's called ANODIV. Again, towards the end of his life, this was something that we had seen. There is a museum in ISI, and one of the things is that you could sit on a chair, and there's a light, and you could sit in a chair. This is the wall. There's a light here. Your facial profile would be projected on the wall, and you would see an image. So we always wondered why that was there, and what we much later learned why that was there, because Mahalanobis was looking at profiles of individuals, trying to get measurements from those shadows that were falling on the wall, and but the data were never analyzed. So this was in 1998. This is when Dr. Rao had analyzed all of that data and published it in the Proceedings of the U.S. National Academy of Sciences. And his age at that time was 78. When Dr. Rao's centenary happened at the Indian Academy of Sciences, I was the president of the Indian Academy of Sciences at that time, organized a meeting, a gathering of a large number of people, statisticians, some of whom, and these are the three who actually worked with Dr. Rao, Devashish Kundu, who is sitting here, S.R. Rao. S.R. Rao is at the University of California, Santa Barbara. S.R. Rao, under Dr. C.R. Rao, actually worked out inferences on a circular distribution, and T. Partha, who was essentially a game theory person. They all came, and we had a wonderful meeting to celebrate Dr. Rao's birth centenary. Dr. Rao, we invited Dr. Rao, he couldn't come, but he sent us a message which was read out in the beginning, or I think he sent us a video message which we displayed. 2023, International Prize in Statistics. He got the International Prize in Statistics, and the chair of the International Prize Foundation said, in awarding the prize, we celebrate the monumental work done by C.R. Rao, not only that not only revolutionized statistical thinking in its time, but also continues to exert enormous influence on human understanding of science across a wide spectrum of discipline. Human understanding of science, amazing. This is Dr. Rao, who says that if there is a problem to be solved, seek statistical advice instead of appointing a committee of experts. Statistics can throw more light than the collective wisdom of an articulate few. Dr. Rao, I'll end my talk here with a few quotes from Dr. Rao. Dr. Rao has categorized creativity into two different kinds. At its highest level, it is the birth of a new idea or a theory which is qualitatively different from and not conforming to deducible form in any existing paradigm, and which explains a wider set of natural phenomena than any existing theory. So he's categorizing creativity. There is creativity of another kind at a different level, or a discovery made within the framework of an existing paradigm, but of immense significance in a particular discipline. So there are two kinds of creativity, and Dr. Rao categorizes these two kinds of creativity. And as I have pointed out a few, but if you read more of Dr. Rao's contributions to the field of statistical science and other sciences, applications of statistics to other sciences, he actually excelled in creativity of both kinds. So this is Dr. Rao. He passed away on August 22nd, 2023 at the age of 102 years. So he's lying there. I don't want to end this talk with a morbid picture of Dr. Rao. I do want to share a few other pictures. This is Mahalanobis and his wife Nirmal Kumari Mahalanobis with Dr. Rao and his wife Bhargavi. We had known Bhargavi quite well. She passed away a few years before Dr. Rao, and so this is a picture. This is C.R. Rao with Jawaharlal Nehru, C.R. Rao with Indira Gandhi. They were all prime ministers at that time. You can see Dr. Rao is very young at that time. This is Fisher and Dr. Rao. This is Fisher with Harold Premier. Fisher with David Blackwell of the Rao-Blackwell theorem fame. Rao-Blackwell came to India for, there's an International Statistical Education Center in ISI. David Blackwell was the president of the ISEC at that time. ISEC is the International Statistical Education Center. They had come to Calcutta to review ISEC, and I actually had the fortune of meeting both of them. This is Jim Watson, the father of the DNA double helix fame, and Dr. Rao. Finally, Dr. Rao, of course, made an institute on the premises of the University of Hyderabad that's called the C.R. Rao Advanced Institute of Mathematics, Statistics and Computer Science. This is on the University of Hyderabad campus. I will stop there, and it's really been a wonderful experience for many of us to have known Dr. Rao, to have learned from his contributions to statistics, and to have known him as a person as well. Very humble, very, very interesting, and he would always have some funny anecdotes. End with one last thing, which is Dr. Rao was also a very good photographer. I talked about V.M. Dandekar early on. Khmer Rao bound arose as a result of a question from V.M. Dandekar. Dr. Rao showed us a picture for which he had submitted to some photography competition, which I can't remember. That was V.M. Dandekar lying under a tree like this on the campus of ISI, and that picture taken by Dr. Rao had won the first prize. So Dr. Rao was really versatile, And really, I'm so glad that the Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur, has organized this meeting for us to be able to pay our homage, pay our tribute to Dr. C.R. Rao. Thank you very much.
Any comments or queries? Yeah.
Slightly non-technical because a few years ago I read that in the designing and fashion and all that, the 44 size for Indians is not the same as 44 for Westerners or other groups. Would that study that they made that?
So that's really not Dr. Rao's study. Dr. Rao, of course, supervised that study. That study was again done at the Indian Statistical Institute by a person by name Brijesh Verma. Brijesh Verma passed away early on, but he was also an anthropologist, was into designing chairs, clothes and all of this, because at that time we were not thinking about not custom-made clothes, but generic clothes, so to say. So he was looking at comparing body dimensions of Indians with body dimensions of Westerners, essentially because in the Western world, all these clothes were available on shops by the number. So those were the kinds of statistical data that were being collected by Brijesh Verma, and Dr. Rao was actually supervising the analysis of that. So I would give the credit to Brijesh Verma for thinking of this, but of course the analysis was done under the supervision of Dr. Rao.
One more question, if I may. I was also wondering when this anthropological study was being taken up, and this is right when India had become independent,
Right.
that this was impact of nutrition, difference of nutrition, and things like those were not being talked about when they talked about fast food.
Right.
Which would have been very important, particularly Maranobis was involved in.
Yeah, absolutely. The point is that this was actually the data were collected even before independence. 41 and 45 were when these two studies were undertaken. Again, at that time, they were just thinking of certain problems, how to look at the diversity and explain the diversity among peoples. And of course, you are right, they could have taken other variables such as nutrition. Would be very difficult to measure nutrition at that time. Even today, measurement of nutrition is a big problem. People will eat outside and so on and so forth. So measurement of nutrition is a big problem. They could have done something, but they had not done it. And I wouldn't say that it didn't strike them, but it's just that at that time we didn't have handle on measurement of nutrition.
Any other? Yeah.
Is there anything about this NOD, what we have done? Is it being used nowadays for this genome sequencing?
So for sequencing, no, primarily because for sequencing we have, I would say, better or more applicable statistical methods, but as long as we were looking at, discrete categorical data of gene markers, right, sequencing, so we were using that. Even today, or up until the time when microarrays were being used, microarrays are not sequences, they are discrete points on the genome, based on which, so we were estimating proportions of these different categorical variables at those points. Till that time we used ANODIV. Right now methods have changed because the nature of the data have changed.
Any other? A lot of time. So, yeah, thank you.
Professor Rao worked with like J.B.S. Haldane or anything also?
So they overlapped, of course. When J.B.S. Haldane was at the Indian Statistical Institute, P.C. Malanobis was still the director and secretary of the institute. Dr. Rao, yes, they did not contribute. I do not know of any paper that Haldane and Rao wrote together, but primarily because, I think they were looking at, what would I say, Haldane was deep into biology at that point of time, and Dr. Rao, I think, was starting to learn biology then. They did not collaborate, but they overlapped, and I'm pretty sure, the one thing that I'm sure of is that the syllabus, or even the starting of the Bachelor's of Statistics program in ISI, which had to be approved of by the government, could not have been done without, the deep contribution of J.B.S. Haldane, along with Malanobis and C.R. Rao, in devising the syllabus which was presented to the Parliament, and our BStat program started because of that. So they did work on various kinds of things, but so far as scientific contributions are concerned, I don't know of their joint scientific contributions. I don't think they wrote any paper together. I'm not aware.
Any other questions?
Someone asked a question. Both of us are students, so we've seen his mind work. But one of the things that you talked about, working with mice, doing anthropology at the same time, he understood the science, whereas most statisticians only look at the data, we rarely dig into the science. So my question for you is, has the education system in India recognized the value of bringing, or anywhere, it's not just India, it's in the US, a lot of the methods he developed were for specific applications. So they drove the theory for many of the main results that you have. So is genetics being taught in a way to think about these kind of, because now they're showing a lot of computational tools that everything without understanding the basics.
So honestly, Nandini, our education system is too regimented. In most institutions in India, the syllabi, the institutional framework is very regimented. It doesn't allow you to move from, if you have chosen a particular stream, it doesn't allow you formally, in terms of the curriculum, to move to other disciplines, learn the other disciplines, see how these two disciplines can interact, etc. It just doesn't happen. We are just too regimented. It's just opening up. So, for example, the one university that comes to my mind is Ashoka, where you can actually choose science, arts, all kinds of combinations, which is allowed in US universities, but that didn't happen in India until just now. So I think we still have to wait for some more time for a statistician, for example, to go and spend time in a biological laboratory crossing mice. No, it doesn't happen today.
But isn't it a pity? The ISI was set up to do interdisciplinary research.
Yes.
Now everybody's talking about interdisciplinarity when we had it 60 years ago.
Right.
So why, do you have any sense of why that?
Honestly, I don't really have any sense of why they were not, clear and interdisciplinary thinking like we had in ISI. Even, by the way, even ISI has completely deviated. So I don't know, Debashish, whether you had to learn physics, chemistry, biology, and all of this at your time. So when we joined, we had courses in physical sciences, biological sciences, social sciences throughout the 4 years of BStat that we had. Today it's all become completely regimented. You don't learn, you can choose one of those three streams, biological sciences, physical sciences, and social sciences, but you will only be given a small exposure to those areas. Again, I really think that even ISI has sort of reversed its direction to becoming more regimented. Don't know when it's going to become more open, but it's sad. I agree with you that ISI had shown the way, but it itself retracted.
I was wondering if Professor Rao has ever commented on his experiences working with Fisher, given Fisher's advocacy for eugenics.
Fisher's advocacy about eugenics was discovered much, much later. Well, during Dr. Rao's lifetime, of course, but it was discovered much, much later. So when he was, working with Fisher, so you see, the journal, which later became the Journal of Genetics, used to be called the Annals of Eugenics, right? The whole thinking about eugenics, promotion of race, improvement of race, these things actually came much later, and possibly even after Fisher's death, or maybe very close to his death. So I think the problems actually were not visualized at that time, so Dr. Rao made no comment about it.
Sir, any history on the Charia's work and grammar down?
No, but Charia's work was done completely independently, but of course, as you are aware, Anil Bhattacharya worked at the Calcutta University and independently found Bhattacharya bounds, which is, of course, an extension from. I don't know of any statement that Dr. Rao had made on Bhattacharya's bounds. I'm pretty sure that he was laudatory about it in private conversation, but I have not seen any written, anything in writing from Dr. Rao about Bhattacharya's bounds. Maybe Devashi should know and Nandini would know. I have not seen. But I'm pretty sure that he was absolutely laudatory about that particular aspect.
So there are not many more questions. I have one on the lighter side, right?
Sure.
I noticed in your slides and elsewhere, when it comes to Rao Blackwell-Ison, it is called a Rao Blackwell theorem.
Yeah.
When it comes to finding the lower bound of the variance of unbiased estimators, everywhere I see it's a Kramer Rao bound.
Right.
Whereas as per your slides goes, the Rao group was
Right.
Any history?
So
there?
yes,
Yeah.
a little bit of history. Kramer Rao bound, it was almost the same time, almost simultaneous. Dr. Rao actually complained why it should be called as Rao-Blackwell theorem. Blackwell's name, Dr. Rao felt, should not even be associated, primarily because Blackwell published his theorem 2 years after Dr. Rao did, and 2 years is a long time. Dr. Rao, being a very humble, meek person, did make a protest. Protest is too strong a word, but by then, the phrase had already come into the literature and wasn't going to be retracted. So yeah, so Rao-Blackwell theorem should be called Rao.
Okay, so if there are not any more questions, let us thank
Thank you very much.
for
Thank
our
you very much.
talk.